Welcome back to Grassroots Radio Colorado. You're listening to Andy and Corey Pate from the Party of Choice, sitting in for Chris Cook, who's taken the night off and will be back tomorrow. We are talking about 2016. What candidates do you like? Which candidates do you not like? Corey, I got to ask you, who do you like?
Who do I like? That's a good question. Okay, honestly, if I could have anybody I wanted, I think now...
You'd want me to run as both president and vice president?
No, I don't think I'd be able to handle that.
Okay, I'm a little hurt. Go ahead.
I don't know. I'm kind of liking Trey Gowdy. I mean, he'll get out there and say whatever he wants to say. I know it's not realistic, but you asked me if I wanted anyone to be president, who would I choose?
Hey, I love the guy. I think he's fantastic. And, Trey Gowdy, can you imagine him in a debate?
Oh, yeah. That's why I would love it.
We need better ones. What I want to talk about right now is I want to give... here's what I mean. I want to talk about why it is so important that we get people who are marketable.
Okay.
Now, the moment people hear that, they think that you want a liberal or you want a moderate. That's not what I mean.
Well, and also the thing that pops into their minds is it's selling out.
Right.
Because we need to keep strong to our principles, because when we don't stay strong to our principles and we get somebody like McCain on our ticket, then nobody sees a real difference between our side and the other side, and it just causes a whole can of worms. Yeah,
but you see that you just lent into why I wouldn't want a McCain. I don't think he's electable. And the reason is he doesn't draw a sharp enough distinction.
Okay.
Here's my big concern. Many of us, I reeled off who my favorite three were. And they're all, very staunchly conservative. You got Jindal, you got Cruz, and you've got, who's the other one? Alan West. All right. Only one of those, I'm going to list off 6 guys who I think, and by the way, this is the first time I don't have a couple girls on this one. Six guys who I think, if you pick any 2 from that as your ticket, you're going to mop up the floor with Hillary Clinton. All right, I'll give those names in a moment. But you'll notice when I do, only one of my favorite 3 is on there. Mm-hmm. All right? The other 2 I didn't put on there. It doesn't mean that they wouldn't be great in the White House. I think they'd be awesome. But I think we need to, in the movement, in the conservative movement, and in the Republican Party, we need to start looking at what we're doing to move the electorate. You see, if you don't move the electorate, for instance, I love Ted Cruz, okay? If I could have a president, if I had him in the White House, I would be doing so many cartwheels. I'm not sure I'd be walking on my feet anymore. I'd be so happy. Mm-hmm. But do I think that he is electable right now across the board? Possibly, but I doubt it. And it's not his fault. It's mine.
Well, and I think that we need to be really careful, because one thing I hear a lot at the meetings that we attend and being on Facebook and everything is that people are saying we need to have better candidates, which I totally agree with. But like you just said, until we move the needle of public opinion and start changing hearts and minds, it doesn't matter if you have the best candidate in the planet if people don't vote for him.
Absolutely. It's the law of the harvest. As I always say in politics, if you do not, the harvest is in the fall.
Right.
And it's the election. Mm-hmm. Okay. And you're trying to bring in the harvest. If you do not, in the spring and summer, plow, seed, water, and weed, and prepare the ground to where it can produce that crop, mm-hmm. then it's ridiculous to say, well, I demand that I have that crop in the fall anyway. If you do not, during the 20 months leading up to election season, lay the groundwork and convert enough people and move the needle of public opinion enough to where that electorate will elect a Ted Cruz, that's not on him, folks. That's on us. Mm-hmm. Okay, we're the bad farmers. We're the ones who did not do enough to move the needle of public opinion during the 20 months. And so when I give these 6 names here shortly, these are 6 names that I think are the most marketable. I could most easily market them in the electorate that we have currently. And by the way, you won't find the liberals in there either. You're not going to find Bush. You're not going to find Christie.
No.
Okay, they'd alienate the base, and I also don't think I could sell them across the board. Maybe Christie across the board, but not to the base.
No.
So we have to keep in mind that before we just say, gee, I really love this one and this one and this one, it doesn't make somebody a compromiser when they say, I just don't think that person can win. It makes them a person who says, we did not move the electorate. We did not prepare the ground to where you could bring in the harvest for that candidate. You ready for the 6?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Well, actually, before you go into that, why don't we give out our number again, just in case somebody else wants to call in with their favorite.
Okay.
All right, 303-477-5600 if you'd like to share your favorites and least favorites for 2016. So, Andy, who do you have in your final list?
Okay, here's my final list, and I mean this, and we'll talk about these names for a few minutes. Scott Walker.
Okay.
And that's not just because I'm from Wisconsin,
I was going to
folks.
say, is that just because you're a cheesehead?
Okay, there's a little bit of that, but Scott Walker, Bobby Jindal.
Okay, I could see that. I like him.
Rand Paul.
Like him, too.
Once again, it doesn't mean I agree with everything with the person. It means I think I can sell them.
Well, but before you go on,
Sure.
Are we really going to ever agree with everybody on everything? Or anybody on everything?
You don't agree with me on everything?
No.
This marriage is going downhill.
I know, but hang in there. It'll be okay.
All right. So these are the people who I think any two of these, Scott Walker, Bobby Jindal, Rand Paul, Ben Carson. I know that's going to upset some people, but I'll get to that in a moment. Paul Ryan and Marco Rubio. Now, you obviously know where I differ with Marco Rubio. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think he went too far in his immigration plan. I think it gave way, way too much trust in basically a corrupt president.
Right, a president who will use his pen to grant amnesty to millions of illegal immigrants.
Right, exactly. But he's backed off on a lot of that, and he's put together a better plan. One second. So I look at these guys. A lot of people look at Ben Carson and they say, "No, wait a minute. He's way too new. You can't sell him. You know, he's going to get out there." And I do worry about that. I mean, do you worry a little bit about?
Well, I do, because I mean, we really liked Herman Cain when he was running, and we identified with a lot of his values and things that he was promoting. But he really was not prepared for the media attacks, and that would be my biggest fear with somebody who doesn't have a lot of experience. Right. Especially with nationwide races.
Well, here's the difference I see with Ben Carson.
Okay.
Sometimes, folks, and I learned this in business. You know, I spent a lot of years in management. You know, and one thing you really don't want to do is promote somebody up the line too quickly, because it angers other people and creates bitterness. But sometimes you get a thoroughbred.
Okay.
Sometimes you get a savant. Sometimes you get somebody who is just more gifted. I have never in my life seen somebody with the quiet, compelling charisma that Ben Carson has. This guy can actually talk to liberals, and they'll hate him for his stances, but they don't hate him.
Yeah, especially the female vote. Women really love him.
They gravitate toward him.
He's gentle, he's intellectual, but he speaks to them in ways that they can understand. And, you know, when we were at the Western Conservative Summit this last summer, and he was one of the keynote speakers, I really didn't know what to expect. But one of the favorite things to me was that he stood up there and he didn't just give a rah-rah speech. He didn't give a stump speech. He talked about actual issues and problems that we're facing in our country. And then he quietly and intellectually and in a most friendly way I've ever seen walked us through practical solutions for each one of those massive problems. And people left that night with hope.
But the thing that really amazed me is that when you're listening to this, he's not coming at you with his rah-rah speech. And by the way, I loved the speeches that were there that weekend, but most of them were rah-rah speeches. Mm-hmm. So here you have a guy who comes out, and all he does, you would think this is the most boring thing in the world. All he does is start going right out of the chute through topic after topic after topic after topic, honestly saying what he would do with it. And he really handled, because I had a concern about the gun rights thing, he handled that very well. He did clarified his position. Yeah. So, but he went through one after another. This should be the driest thing in the world, and people were captivated. Mm-hmm. His charisma as a speaker, he was just so, I mean, it's almost like it's impossible not to like the guy. We have a thoroughbred here. Does that mean he should be on the ticket? I don't know. I gotta be honest. I don't like the idea of him being maybe on the top of the ticket. Mm-mm. But what about the VP slot? Yeah.
I mean, I could see that as potentially working.
My concern would be the debates. But the good news is we're going to have a broad field, so we're going to learn about him in the debates.
Yeah, and I think it's really good that they're starting now to flesh out their stances and their ideas on things so that we can see how they respond within the conservative circles first. And then once they've refined their message and they've prepared for the negative responses or whatever that comes their way, they can take that refined message out to the general public.
But this brings up the one person on my list of 6 who is also in my list of 3, the 3 I love the most. Mm-hmm. And that's Bobby Jindal.
Yes, I agree.
I think Bobby Jindal is the most accomplished governor in the country. Mm-hmm. Okay? I mean, I love Scott Walker. What Jindal has done is breathtaking. But here's my problem. Here's my concern with Jindal. It's not the bad response he gave to the Obama speech a few years ago. His handlers wrote that. He delivered it. He went through the same thing we saw this year. Here's my problem. He's taking too long to get in.
Okay.
The fundraising, if you want to get in on some of the big fundraising, you've got to get in soon. That's just the way the game is now.
True, but don't you think that if you get in too soon, you are easier to burn out and less likely to make it to the end?
Good point, but I don't think this guy's going to burn out. I don't see that in him. This guy seems. Here's the thing. When I look at Bobby Jindal, he seems almost bulletproof. I saw him the other day, and he was talking about foreign policy, and once again, nothing like Rubio. Rubio talks about it, and he is fluent in it and fast and just incredible. Jindal was another guy you could tell who studied up. Mm-hmm. All right. But the guy has an IQ through the roof.
True.
He has perfect character. Mm-hmm. He has loads of accomplishments.
Well, and one of the things that I admire the most is his leadership skills. He's shown when the Gulf oil spill took place. You know, I mean, his hands were tied in a lot of ways. He couldn't step in with the solutions that he wanted to, but he just found every possible way that he could to mitigate the problem. And
they did polling after that, and the polling came out basically asking how well he had handled it versus how well Obama had handled the Gulf oil spill, which is incredible. You remember now, BP is a company that supported Obama.
Right.
Okay, these execs they gave to him big time and all this. So one of his buddies causes this big oil spill, and what is Obama's response? He shuts down all their competitors.
Right.
Who did nothing. Bobby Jindal handled it brilliantly. And when I look at him, I see somebody who has it. Now, the only thing, what I mean is he has it in that he's bulletproof. The one thing he doesn't have as much is charisma. I want to talk about that when we come back, because charisma, folks, we on the right hate to talk about charisma, but we need it. We need it. Reagan wasn't just great in principle. He knew how to win people over. Come back in the next 15 minutes and we're going to close up and talk about how to win in 2016. How to win in 2016. How to win.